Scroll and Dagger presents The Pensive Tower. Episode 39. The Puppet Show. This is the memory of Alayne Hall, human, aged 27, identified as... What the... Szelia, did you replace the bulbs? Szelia? Szelia?
I'm afraid Szelia isn't available. Perhaps I could assist, Mr. Ferox.
Who in the depths are you?
Oh, of course. How rude of me. My name is Alayne SinDreda.
Oh.
Yes.
I thought you'd left the tower.
No, you didn't. I've been watching you, Mr. Ferox. I've seen the way you look back over your shoulder at every turn. And you know what I want.
I just have to shout and tower security will be here.
Oh, I've already dealt with your security, Mr. Ferox. And with your assistant.
Dealt with them how?
Oh, don't worry. They're not dead. Not yet. But that can change.
Where are they?
They're safe and sound. For now. And they'll stay that way as long as you're sensible.
Sensible?
Meaning you do as you're told, and don't do anything stupid.
I see.
The memory of Malin. Please.
Maybe I'm not inclined to help you. Maybe I'd rather take my chances at taking you on here and now.
Oh, Mr. Ferox. Even if you were capable of doing something like that.
What?
There's nothing you could do that would hurt me.
What are you?
Nothing you need to worry about. At least, as long as you do what I tell you.
The memory is in the library. I'll have to go down and get it.
We'll have to go and get it. I'm not letting you out of my sight. You might do something very stupid. Now, come on. After you. Then of course you can. I know how important it is to you and this place to keep everything noted down.
You're too kind.
How much longer are you going to be? Your friends can't wait around forever, you know.
There are a lot of memories to go through, and you wouldn't let me get the index.
Couldn't have you alerting someone to what we're doing. This is supposed to be secret.
Why do you want this memory so badly anyway? I've read it myself. It's nothing particularly special. A young man talking about hunting monsters. It's probably not even real.
Oh, I don't want it. It's for my master. He's the one who wants it.
Your what now?
My master. Sir Raymond Ducoste. He actually came here a couple of years ago, before his ascension.
The Dulinarkas.
You've read it. Yes, he was brought into the true fold. The Lord and Lady Dulinarka are gone now, returned to Stemevica.
What?
Sir Raymond has been appointed regent of these lands.
Regent?
To prepare for the Queen's return.
What? No, you can't be serious.
Oh, but I am.
Oh, the Queen trapped beyond the maelstrom. Come on, everyone knows that's a lot of...
Oh, everyone knows lots of things. But the things that everyone knows aren't exactly right.
What are you talking about?
All will be revealed in time, Mr. Ferox. All in good time. Speaking of time, have you found the memory yet?
There is a lot to go through. If you need something to pass the time, well...
What?
Well, perhaps you'd like to donate a memory of your own.
Me? Donate to your little collection? What would I even give you?
Anything you like. Some people give us treasured memories, others give important events. Maybe you could talk about how you became... like this.
Ah, you mean how I became a... what did you call it? A marionette? Okay, why not? It might be nice to have my story remembered, though I do wonder who would listen to this after the return of the Queen. Well, go on then. Speak your words.
This is the memory of Alayne SinDreda, formerly human, aged unknown, identified as...
Non-applicable.
Memory regards how it became as it is today. Inscribed direct from subject on the 16th of Keller, 730. We begin.
I suppose this story truly begins with the end of my life. The life I had before, I mean. I was born in Brana, to a wealthy family. I won't go into too much detail on my childhood. Suffice to say that my father ensured I was given every opportunity, and I received the best education available. Not that that really mattered to me. History and literature are all very well, and I did learn what I needed, but what was far more important was that I went to those schools, for it allowed me to make the contacts I could use for the rest of my life. I befriended the daughters of every family of note in the north, attended their parties and get-togethers. Then, later on, I began courting the sons. Nothing serious, not at that age. Just enough to ensure I was known to anyone who might be of influence later on in life. By the time I came of age, I had become one of the most adored socialites in North Centaria. My attendance was sought after at every soiree and function across Brana. I regularly made the list of most eligible bachelorettes of Pescora. My hand was sought by the sons and daughters of some of the wealthiest families in all the Federation. I would like to say it was because of my charm and wit. Once I might have even claimed that, but I know it was my father's money they wanted. He had invested wisely in the fur trade from my mother's homeland, and had a controlling stake in the port of Whitshaw. We were hardly the wealthiest family in the north, but my dowry was enough to turn the head of any heir of an impoverished noble house, and a fair few of the wealthier ones as well. Raymond Ducoste was one such example. The Ducostes have done very well in their own investments in the silk market, not to mention their partnership with the Delane family down here in the south. Young Raymond was quite the desirable match. Of course, everyone knew that he got about. It was no secret that he was free with his affection. He even seemed to take a perverse pleasure in the fact that so many people knew. But, I won't lie, it just made him all the more desirable. When I got the invitation to Jacob Sinalant's party, I was quite excited, because I knew Raymond would be there. He and Jacob were old friends, and I knew Raymond would go along to give his support. And this party, I thought, might give me the opportunity to lock him down. If I could get him to at least commit to me in name, that would be a step. I was in no rush to be married yet, and I had a couple of other prospects that would be equally as acceptable, but Raymond was my first choice, so I went to the party with that as my objective. Almost as soon as I arrived, I was quickly surrounded by a small crowd of hopeful young men. None of them were serious options for me, bless them, but they were all handsome, polite, and complimentary, so I allowed them to bask in my company whilst I sought out Raymond. I did eventually catch sight of him. He looked like he had just arrived, so I beckoned him to join me, but he shook his head and gestured towards Mr. Sinalant. I understood, of course. Mr. Sinalant was the host. It would be unseemly for Raymond not to speak with him first. I expected him to make some pleasantries with his friends. Then, of course, he would come to me. But he did not. After a quick conversation with his friend, Raymond wandered off, leaving me to make polite conversation with the small group that had gathered around me. I found out later, from talking to Mr. Sinalant, that Raymond had gone in search of Lady Marina Dulin Archer. I couldn't believe what I had heard. I'd never heard of this woman, and I took pride in the fact that I knew everyone worth knowing. I had been a guest and a friend to anyone I might have considered a rival, and all by then knew what my intentions were with Raymond. Zarus and Frost had even taken up with Rhea in Dulin Malan, just to make it clear she had no interest in being my competition. Zara's a sweet girl. It's a shame what happened. But now there was this person, this interloper, a complete unknown who had, it seems, caught Raymond's attention. My fears were confirmed later, when I saw Raymond leaving with a gorgeous woman on his arm. I had been speaking with Mr. Sinelant at the time, and he confirmed that was Marina Dulinarca. Raymond spared me the barest glance, then turned his attention back to the woman on his arm, and, together, they swept out of the room. I was livid. I had been cast aside, just like that, with not even a word. I have already said I did not mind what he got up to with others. We were not promised or anything. But to do this so flagrantly, and right in front of me, that sent a very clear message. I am ashamed of how I felt, that I had held animosity towards the most revered lady. The only excuse I can give is that I didn't know any better at the time. I dare say when I saw the lady and Raymond leaving together, I lost my composure for a moment. To be treated like that was intolerable. And it was made even worse when I turned to see that little weasel Sinelant smirking as he watched his friend depart. I left the party shortly after, returning to my home. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I was too annoyed. Who was this woman? This Marina Dulinarca? She had appeared as if from nowhere, and had swept Raymond, my preferred prospect, right out away from me. His family wealth and connections combined with my own would have allowed us to dominate Northern Centauria. Power. Position. They could have been ours. I did not care he had left with her. He can have his fun as I do. But him leaving without even speaking a word to me was a clear slight that could be interpreted no other way. And he had done this for a woman who had come as if from nowhere. I had to know all I could of her. I summoned my equerry. He has been with me since I came of age. His contract had been a birthday present. His name was Mr. Scholt. I summoned him to my living chamber and told him what he was to do. I wanted all the information he could gather on this Marina Dulinarca. Where had she come from? What was her business? And how could I get her out of my way? Oh, how childish I was. How ignorant. I really didn't understand anything of what was happening. At the time, I thought I was playing the game we of the upper class play and removing a rival. I assumed this Marina would be doing the same thing aimed at me. And if she wasn't, then she was a fool. Mr. Scholt has a network that he calls on when I need information, when I need someone dealt with. The scum of Branna is not a group I would have ever associated with personally, not in those days, but they certainly had their uses. I knew it would take some time for Mr. Scholt to bring anything useful, so I was left to pace my rooms in my spare time, impatient for results. Though, as it turned out, I did not have to wait very long before some information on Marina was brought to me. It turned out that Ms. Marina Dulinarca was actually a Mrs. Her husband, Abraham Dulinarca, was a knight of the Federation, the last living member of a very old and very wealthy house. I had to stop myself dancing when Mr. Scholt brought me that bit of news. This was the perfect blackmail material, I thought in my ignorance. If this husband found out what she was up to, she would likely be ruined. I would write her a letter and assure her that her darling husband Abraham wouldn't know anything of her dalliance with Raymond if she agreed to leave him alone from now on. I might use this information to ruin her in the future, but only if she crossed me. Who knows, I thought. Perhaps this Marina and I would become friends. She might be a useful tool, and a reliable one, if I could hold this over her. The next piece of news Mr. Schultz told me took all that wind out of my sails. Marina had brought Raymond back to her own house, he said, where the husband had been waiting. They had, the three of them, spent the night together. Elation turned to bitter anger, and I dismissed Mr. Schultz before falling into a fury. The next weeks passed by in a bit of a haze. I received letters of admiration from aspiring suitors. I even responded to some of them, but I heard not one word from Raymond. No apology, no explanation, nothing. Not even a note to state his intentions with the Doolinarkers, and that we were to be no more than acquaintances going forward. Because, from what I had heard, Raymond's association with the Doolinarkers had gone far beyond a mere dalliance. They were going everywhere together. Dinner, the theatre, everywhere. It was unbelievable how they paraded themselves. Then, about 2 months after J. Kim's and Alon's party, Mr. Schultz brought me an envelope with my breakfast. On it was my name, written in an elegant hand that I knew very well. I dismissed my servant and then opened the envelope. It was from Raymond, of course, inviting me to dinner that evening. He wrote how sorry he was for his behaviour, how he regretted his actions that led to the distance between us. He begged me to accept his invitation so that he might make amends. Well, I was in two minds. On the one hand, I was still angry at Raymond for his rudeness, but on the other, I did like the tone of his letter. Perhaps there was a chance to make this work. The opportunities our match would create were so tempting that, in the end, I decided to accept, and selected the dress I would wear to my dinner with him. I knew it had to be something that would make an impression. And I chose well, as you can see, Mr. Ferox. But that evening, I thought I'd chosen poorly because when he first saw me, Raymond did not have a look of a man struck by my beauty. He simply smiled and welcomed me warmly. I, meanwhile, was in awe of him. Granted, it had been weeks since I had last seen him, but I did not remember him being so magnificent. The room was quite dim, lit only by candlelight, yet his skin seemed to glow, and his eyes shone as if they were full of starlight. I tried to maintain my composure, and greeted him by his name, as coldly as I could, but even that went poorly, for he interrupted me to tell me that he had been knighted since we had last seen each other, and that it was Sir Raymond Ducoste now. I just stood there, unable to believe what I was hearing. The only thing I could think was that I was going to find out who had failed to bring me this crucial information, and I was going to have them punished most severely. He invited me to sit, calling for wine. As I took my seat, a well-dressed servant appeared as if from nowhere, carrying a tray of glasses and a decanter. He was smiling warmly, the picture of the perfect servant, in a well-pressed suit. A little too perfect. There was a vacancy there, behind the eyes. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about, Mr. Ferox. The servant approached the table. I wouldn't say he walked. His legs certainly moved, but they weren't what propelled him forward. Again, I'm sure you can imagine what I'm talking about, Mr. Ferox. I remember how scared I was when I saw that. I don't know if I screamed or if I only thought I did. I certainly wanted to. Sir Raymond placed a hand on my shoulder. "Don't mind him," he said. "Pretend he's not even here." And his voice was so gentle, so calm, so soothing, that I forgot what I had seen and why it had so alarmed me. I looked up and my eyes met his, and I was lost in the sparkling beauty of them. I had always thought Raymond was a good-looking man, but there was something more to him now. He was beautiful. He didn't immediately take his seat. Instead, while his servant poured drinks, he repeated what he had said in the letter, that he wished to apologize. He had been unforgivably rude, he said, to have ignored me so over the past few weeks. He had realized how much he needed me, that I was the only one he could ever want, and had no desire for anyone other than me. In that moment, his words were sweeter than finest sugar to me, which is strange because I think at any other time I might have scorned such words. But there, at the table, I forgot all the anger, all the resentment, the embarrassment I'd been subjected to. It all just drained out of me. I think I held on to it long enough to ask him, "What about the Doolanarkers?" Sir Raymond had clearly expected the question and smiled. "They're gone," he said softly, and his voice sent a shiver through me. "But let's not speak of them. I wish only to speak of you." Any resistance I might have put up against him fled in that instant. The rest of the night passed in a haze. It was like a dream. I remember only brief moments. The two of us eating whilst the servant stood close at hand, still as a statue unless he was needed. But I no longer noticed anything strange about him. All my attention was on Sir Raymond. Then we were talking together on the terrace beneath the starry sky, the moonlight seeming to be reflected in Sir Raymond's face. And then we were in the garden, with Sir Raymond holding me so close and asking if I would be his. If I would give everything I am to him. My mind was a whirling storm by this point. I was filled with desire and, I think, even love. So much so that, as he held my face in his hands, my eyes locked on his, I did not even hesitate. I said yes. Sir Raymond smiled. And then his smile got bigger and wider. And in that second I realized for the first time how sharp his teeth were. And that was the last thought Alayne SinDreda had. I have vague memories of Sir Raymond's jaw stretching like a snake's, but I'm afraid Alayne's mind was just too muddled by then to take everything in.
But I thought you were Alayne SinDreda.
To be perfectly honest, I'm not sure of that myself. I have all her memories. I remember going to school, the lessons she attended. I remember the parties she went to, the men she flirted with, her schemes, manipulations, her emotions. If I remember all of that, does that make me her?
I
suppose it doesn't really matter what you think. All that's important is that I know my purpose now. Before, I thought it was to make a good match to improve my family's position. Or rather, Alayne did. You see what I mean, Mr. Ferox? It can be confusing. But I know that my purpose is to carry out the will of Sir Raymond, and of course, Lord and Lady Doolanarker.
You're a fan of theirs now, are you?
They are the Night Queen's chosen. They are most sacred.
The Night Queen. You really believe in all that rubbish?
It's not a matter of belief, Mr. Ferox. It is an inevitability.
You're insane.
That's not possible anymore. Now, I'm getting tired of waiting. Where is that memory?
Here. This is the one.
Yes. Yes, it is. Thank you, Mr. Ferox. You have been very helpful. Sir Raymond Ducoste thanks you.
Whatever. Where are Szelia and the others?
Oh, Don't worry about them. After I've killed you, I'll attend to them.
What?
You are a smart man, Mr. Ferox. It's surprising that you're so stupid. How else did you think this would end? We can't have you telling anyone about this. About us.
Wait, no, wait just a minute. Wait.
It's okay, Mr. Ferox. It'll be over soon.
Please don't do this.
Begging is pointless, Mr. Ferox. We can't let you live.
There they are.
Oh, there you are. We were just wondering where you'd slipped off to.
I think you have overstayed your welcome.
And you brought the High Librarian. We are honored.
You needn't be. It is time for you to go.
And how are you going to make us?
With this.
No.
Paxton! Are you okay?
Not particularly. What is that he's holding?
No. No. You can't have that. That isn't fair.
It looks like... Is that a glass candle?
I would have you be gone.
What the...
How did you...
Why don't we go somewhere a little more comfortable? We have quite a lot to talk about.
The Pensive Tower is a podcast distributed by Scroll and Dagger and licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 International License. Today's episode was written by Gareth Cadogan, produced by Gina Moriarty, and performed by Sophie Morgan. Original theme by Evangelos Anastasatos with artwork by Cassie Shepherd. For more information such as ways to support us or to view show notes, visit us at scrollanddagger.com. And please rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening.